talk about your health. Living a primal lifestyle.
You know, we have Tom from Tampa on the phone. Hey, Tom. Good morning. It's bright and early now, huh?
Hey, Paige. Good.
Hi, Tom.
How you guys doing, Nico?
Doing great.
Good. Hey, your newsletter's outstanding, man. I'm telling you, man, it is outstanding. And so is the Primal Edge. I love that stuff. I'd never be without it. I mean, I've been on it now 3-4 months, man. I mean, it's just, I can't get over how good I feel.
Primal Edge is, people are raving about it. People who are trying it, they know because you can feel it.
Would not be without it.
Call now, toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044. Now your hosts, Nico DeHaan and Paige Clark.
Good morning, I'm Nico DeHaan. Welcome to Living a Primal Lifestyle, where we explore a return to a more balanced, natural, wild world.
To recover our natural health and regain our rights and freedoms. I'm Paige Clark, and good morning.
And it's a beautiful day in downtown Clearwater, Florida. It's 77 degrees, partly cloudy, and this time of year we normally get our rain about 4 o'clock. And
Oh, we've had it we've had quite a bit of rain in the last
Yeah.
week, and everything's nice and green. It was really beautiful.
and it actually cools things down in the afternoon. So.
We don't complain. That's one of the nice things about this time of year.
That's
Hey,
for
make
sure.
sure you subscribe to our Health Signals newsletter. Twice a month, we give you a newsletter that's got all kinds of clickable links to really fascinating stuff, news you can use.
That's right, and the number here is 877-927-6648. You can always reach us, of course, after hours at nico@tfnn.com for by email.
Me at Paige@tfnn.com.
Yeah. And, so I wanted to start today with...
Your little brainstorm you had on Facebook.
before that, I want to talk about what we were talking about last week with the sleep tape.
Oh, yeah.
Because I ordered some from Amazon and got it a couple days later, and Friday morning was the first day I woke up with the tape stuck to my mouth, which was a strange feeling, no doubt. It actually works really well. It's
What
easy.
was your experience? Did you feel like a little panicky?
No, not really. It felt a little strange because something was on your lip, and when you tore it off in the morning, it was a little sensitive. But other than that, it was
That'd be
easily...
good exfoliation for right in this area.
Maybe so. But I did notice a couple of things, and I'm not sure if it's direct correlation or not, but definitely less congestion during the day. And I've been
that's good news.
congested, when I left Florida, congestion pretty much left and came back when I came back, slowly. But I noticed it's every day it's a little bit easier, and I'm
Right.
certainly not congested this morning. And that's a nice relief, and probably because I breathe through my mouth a lot at night. That's the only thing I can figure. I didn't know that.
I think that a lot more of us do that than we even know.
Yeah.
And so I think this was a really great biohack that we shared with everybody.
Yeah,
So,
I would recommend people to try it. The other thing I did when I jumped in the pool after my saunas and things, not much of a reaction to the cold. In fact, it felt warm. The other thing is when I got in the spa, and I take it up to 104, and it's quite hot, I wasn't as susceptible to the heat either. I didn't have the, it's so darn hot until you get in.
Are you tying that to your taping of your mouth? You think perhaps you were more oxygenated?
Maybe so, but
We'll have to kind of monitor it. then
Yeah,
and
I'm
see.
going to monitor those. Those are the things that I felt immediately. So less resistance to cold, less resistant to heat, or
And you're
more
very,
resistance,
and you're very
I should
in
say.
tune with things. After you change things, you pay good attention. So
I try. So.
I don't doubt it. But
Yeah, so I'm going to keep on doing it. I bought a whole box of them, so I got enough for probably the year.
So if you don't, if you didn't hear that show, tune in. I think it was last week,
Last Tuesday.
Thursday, last Tuesday. We
Yeah.
talked about
Sleep tape.
sleep tape,
And that's the
making
trademark.
sure that you
Yep.
breathe
Through your nose.
through your
And,
nose, so
that's
you
an important thing.
reoxygenate your brain,
Yeah.
so forth.
And a couple other things I noticed was high energy, for sure.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
Good stuff.
So going to this little op-ed I posted on my blog, it's called A Piece of the Action. Here it goes like this. Individual health and societal health in our modern world are of secondary concern to someone getting a piece of the action. I'm going to draw a parallel between the health business and the pool business just to make a point. The real problem with our health system is that economic priorities determine health outcomes. So about 10 years ago, we had a pool and spa built and have relied on the services and knowledge about the health and maintenance of our pool on
Right.
a local service company. I go there to have my water tested, buy supplies like salt, sulfuric acid, stabilizers, etc. Through the years, they have provided me with an education of what to do in just about every scenario that comes with owning and maintaining a pool. So a few months back, I noticed a rust spot forming on our spillover. Somehow a piece of metal is exposed to water underneath the tile. Naturally, I wanted to seek advice and have it repaired. I first called the installers where I purchased the pool, but they do not or did not do repairs, referring me to the pool supply company or store. I explained my problem to the store owner. He called his tile installer, and they would call me. Never heard a word.
No tile guy.
No store owner, no nothing. Typical. Okay.
Right. So it's been 3 months now.
3 months now, going to the store, calling them every 2 weeks, because that's when I get my water checked. They explain the problem. You see, so many pools are being built that they are too busy to do small repairs. Not worth the money. Most tile installers are working for new pool companies or contracted to them. None left to do repairs. Money is too important, so offering a service becomes secondary to the situation. And not just this situation, folks. Any situation can have this outcome. In our society, our healthcare system, our political system, our food system, and of course our education system are all secondary concern to the system of somebody getting a piece of the action.
Piece of the action. Well, yeah, everything's motivated by the return on their investment.
And everybody has to have
we understand that that's what drives business, but why should our health be something that we have to feel is part of that piece of the action thing?
It's not just health, it's just anything.
Right.
You know, it's
Well, the disposable society. They'd much rather, most of the time, just have you buy a new washer and dryer than repair them.
That. In fact, my air conditioning guy told me a few months back, our air conditioners used to last 30 years because they were made to last 30 years. Now they're made to last 10 years.
Right.
Much more profitable for the insurance or these companies that service and also the companies that make these items. So,
I mean, I've had washers and dryers because I had properties and so forth, and it'd be like, you'd have a problem with it and be like, oh, well, it's going to be $400. Well, you can buy a new one for $400. Yeah, that's right. So just buy a new one. It feels so wasteful, doesn't it?
Well, it is wasteful, and our society's built on waste and doing this. And
we make money being
as
wasteful.
I'm reading this book by Peter Joseph, the new
Peter Joseph's the gentleman who wrote Zeitgeist.
Zeitgeist, yeah, and he had the new book about the new type of economy we could get into. And he says, what we need in our society is not owning all these things. We just need access to things. It's kind of like the thing with Uber, the car.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect example. Why do we have to buy all these cars? We're not using them all the time. How many of them are parked?
You're right. And in Holland, it's kind of like the bicycle thing. Bicycles are everywhere. You can get a bicycle anywhere. And, they're common. In other words, they're part of the common element. There's a bicycle there, you pick the bicycle up, you ride where you go, and you drop the bicycle off. We can do the same thing with cars. We can do the same thing with cameras, with things that we will use maybe once a year or every few years that we don't need to own. But we like to own things because we have all this economy that's saying we have to own it. You're a better man, you're a better woman, you're sexier, you're everything that is, it has to be new, it has to change. The iPhone comes out once a year. The iPads come out once a year. These are great technologies, but
they still do the same function if we just held on to them.
Maybe it's a little faster and it's fancier and it's nice that, hey, I got a new one, look at me, But that's what our society's made of. It's the wrong path to go down.
I think so too, and I like the fact that you pointed that out this week in a little thoughtful piece.
Well, thank you.
We'll be right back after this short break.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids. nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Platinum, grains, crude oil, gold, copper, cattle, hogs, gasoline, natural gas, coffee, cotton, cocoa, and sugar. These are just some of the commodities mentioned in the most recent issue of Andy Hecht's Techno-Mental Commodity Report. Andy publishes his weekly newsletter every Thursday morning, where he breaks down the commodity market and provides his subscribers with specific trading recommendations based on his trading methodology. By signing up for a free trial to the Techno-Mental Commodity Report, you'll get a full 30 days to try out this powerful newsletter service and see for yourself the types of trades Andy has recommended for his subscribers. When you sign up for a 30-day free trial, you're under no obligation to pay anything. And should you decide to continue, you will lock in the low rate of only $79 a month. Sign up right now for the Techno-Mental Commodity Report and make sure you're ready to catch the next big trade in commodities. For more information and to get started today, visit the front page of TFNN.com.
Are China A-shares hot or not? If you trade China A-shares, now may be time to take a closer look. Trade CHAU or CHAD, Directions Daily CSI 300 China A-share Bull and Bear ETFs. China A-shares in either direction. Visit directioninvestments.com today. An investor should consider the investment objectives, risks, charges, and expenses of the Direction shares carefully before investing. The prospectus and summary prospectus contain this and other information about Direction shares. To obtain a prospectus or summary prospectus, please contact Direction shares at 866-476-7523. The prospectus or summary prospectus should be read carefully before investing. An investment in the funds is subject to risk, including the possible loss of principal. The funds are designed to be utilized only by sophisticated investors such as traders and active investors. Distributor Foreside Fund Services, LLC.
Nico and Paige take your phone calls now. Toll free at 1-877-927-6648. Internationally at 727-445-1044.
Welcome back to Living a Primal Lifestyle. So we're checking out what one of our favorite University of South Florida professors is up to. Dominic D'Agostino is a professor of molecular pharmacology and physiology at the University of South Florida at the Hyperbaric Biomedical Research Laboratory. And he is the only crew member that's not employed by a U.S. Space Agency that's going to be doing a joint, a special trek with teams from NASA. He's joining their mission to research how astronauts' diets could help them endure the extreme environment that they face on space missions.
Yeah, this is the 22nd NASA Extreme Environmental Mission Operations. It takes them 6 miles off the coast of Key Largo, 60 feet below the water's surface, to an underwater research laboratory called Aquarius. It's the closest that astronauts can get to experimenting the conditions they'll face on the surface of Mars, the Moon, or deep space asteroid without leaving Earth.
That's going to be really cool. And they're leaving on the 18th of June, and the crew will spend 10 days simulating spacewalks and studying how coral and other organisms survive these harsh conditions. And they're going to test new technologies. And one of those technologies that they're going to test is whether his new nutritional supplement, and I think in Stephen Klein, my partner at Healthy Fit Club, we did an interview with Dr. D'Agostino's research assistant, Angela Poff.
It's a great interview.
Brilliant interview. If you haven't seen it, visit Healthy Fit Club.
Yep.
She really shares what they're doing. But they're going to test to see if his nutritional supplement is a good fit for the space program.
Yeah, one of the things that's interesting about this story, he's the only one that's taking this. All the other astronauts are doing the Tang or whatever.
Yeah,
else they
yeah,
do.
exactly. The high fructose.
Which I think is kind of foolish. I think if you follow the research of him in the last 4 years, what he's done with ketosis and the cancer research is astounding.
It's astounding.
Not only astounding,
he is a guy to watch.
It's like 99%.
Yeah, it says here.
And remember, folks, it's done with diet. This supplement is only supplementing the diet, the ketosis.
It's a ketosis supplement to help keep its exogenous ketones,
Right.
to help keep your body into ketosis. It's a great bridge for those of us that may have a more difficult time starting to get into ketosis. We
Yeah.
might be a little resistant.
Right.
So while the rest of the crew will be eating traditional dehydrated, vacuum-packed camping food currently taken into space missions, D'Agostino will drink a powdered formula that was developed at USF that fuels the body by burning fat instead of glucose in a metabolic state called ketosis.
Yeah.
And so it's really, like you said, a super souped-up version of Tang. That's so funny. I haven't seen Tang in years, but...
Well, yeah.
You remember
I
when
don't
that
even know
first
it's
came
on the
out when we
market
were
anymore.
kids? That was
Yeah.
like such a weird...
The
it was like,
wonderful thing, yeah.
Yeah, the powdered drink mix, you know?
Yeah, which probably spikes your
But of course,
sugar.
these special exogenous ketones are a superior source of energy and enhances mental function and protects you from extreme environments. Because
Yeah.
after all, fat burning is a survival method.
No doubt about it.
And we were
So he's not
deciding to do it.
allowed to bring his hairdryer, popcorn, or snack on his favorite choice of sardines. He says the only sardines are the people on it.
right,
Because they're all crammed in there, and the bathroom is very, very small.
Yeah, it's very small, he says.
His wife was also involved in this, and it's very interesting. She's going to dive down there a couple times a week to bring supplies to him. She's not actually down there living with him.
Right. So, yeah, and she is actually a research neuroscientist.
Yeah.
Very interesting. What a bunch of brain cells in that couple, huh?
Yeah, no, their kids must be really something.
And
I don't
so
think
they'll be
they have to
testing the gases that they breathe in and how they get absorbed in the blood. And so it's going to be very interesting. So we'll be keeping you abreast of how that goes, and maybe we can get a neat update. So
Yeah, they're going to test a lot of things. The gases they breathe in get absorbed into their blood, can have extreme effects on their psychological and cognitive function, especially in tight living quarters. The crew's schedule is designed to be task-loaded. In other words, they're doing a lot of work down there, and they want to test the crew's sleeping habits as well, changes in the sensory processing speed, problem-solving, memory,
well,
things
you're
like
really
that.
emulating the closest environment to space by being underwater. You know, that kind of...
Yeah, and the busyness, of course, prevents being bored, because being in a small box, I think they said this thing was like, 30-foot RV, about like living, and they have, 6 people plus him, so 7 people, I think it is, in there. That's, this cramped space, and doing that for an extended period of time. That's a good experiment for sure.
I'm excited to hear how it goes, and I'm sure that, I just love seeing that some of our local research heroes are working on
I had
things.
some experience.
I can't wait to see his supplement that's coming out. I think it's going to be a really big tool because we're seeing more and more the research of the ketogenic diet.
Yes.
However, I'm going to tell you, it's not like a switch. You don't just start eating fat and start burning fat. Many
No, your
people
body
still...
has to process it.
Some people do it really quickly, but other people don't. The only way to know is to monitor it with little
I did it in a
strips.
couple of weeks, and my wife did it a little bit. I think it took her about 3 months, something like that, to completely get into that. Yeah, it takes everybody different. Some people up to a year. They say if you're very athletic, it takes your body a year to get used to the whole thing, where you're actually performing better after a year than maybe during the first year. Not quite as much. You don't feel it quite as much. There'll be on and on times and off times and things. But this reminded me kind of, I have a partner with the machinery that I have, the Roboflex Exo trainers that I use in my studio, that I'm the only one that has. And these were taken to Houston and demonstrated with the astronauts. And many of the astronauts had come to Lucian's home, who was the inventor, Lucian McDonald, and used the machine and raved about the machine. And they had 2 other companies there. Cybex was one, and there was another company. And then they had their own kind of machines that they were using, not really machines. They tied people down with straps to the walking treadmill, and they did all kinds of things like this. But this was definitely the best answer, and the astronauts loved the feel of it and how it worked. And then after the whole demonstration, we got word about 3 months later that they decided to go with the old things because it works all right, and then they don't have to spend
Well, now,
any
of
more
course,
money.
there's science that's really, I've invited you to come get the presentation on the Beamer.
Yes,
The Beamer
yes,
technology,
which is a mat.
that uses a pulse electromagnetic field to deliver their patented signal.
Right.
But they have partnered with NASA because NASA has found that there's nothing like it in terms of preserving the circulation so that these astronauts do not experience
So it's like
this 35% degradation in their bones and their muscle mass.
Yeah, it's like those heating pads with the stones in them.
Robbie's process.
Yeah, but also much more to it than that, too.
Robbie's pads are phenomenal. You
Yeah.
know, Robbie Bessner, our chief scientist sponsor here, you know, he's the leader in infrared technology
Yes,
and
he
has
is.
found the exact stones that really help that. But we're also very interested in the circulatory enhancement of the microcirculation with the beamer. And the beamer has a joint venture, multi-year joint venture with NASA to weave the beamer signal into the clothing
Well,
to protect the astronauts from this loss of bone mass, muscle mass, improve circulation. Because, folks, all disease and aging is really a relationship between loss of circulation of blood and loss of circulation of the lymph or the waste removal.
yeah, there's
So-
a devastating thing that happens to you when you go just for even hours up in space where you're actually
Well, that's why they did this. Yeah, they've said nothing helps to prevent it like that. So I want to do a whole presentation to our listeners on that technology because it's really something.
During the break, folks, pick up some Health Signals newsletter and also, of course, our Primal Edge. Pick that up and we'll be right back.
Be right back.
We'd like to tell you about the personal training studio that Nico is the owner and president of, Performance Training. Since 1998, Nico has trained individuals and groups to improve their health both mentally and physically. As a certified personal trainer, Nico's main focus is on demonstrating exercises correctly to avoid injury and teaching his clients how to manage their past injuries while getting the most out of their personal training sessions. The Performance Training Studio is filled with unique training equipment that enhances balanced results at a faster rate while minimizing damage and discomfort. For more information, you can give Nico a call at 727-418-8740 or email him at nico@tfnn.com. Let him know you heard him on TFNN and save up to $100 on a special package just for TFNN listeners. Act today.
Tiger TV is an exciting way to experience TFNN programming. See high-definition video, giving you crystal clear charts, as well as seeing some of the faces of TFNN's highly acclaimed financial experts with crisp, full-fidelity sound. Catch Tom O'Brien, John Logan, Steve Rhodes, Basil Chapman, Larry Pesavento, Think or Swim, David White, Andy Hecht, and Daryl Martin in crystal clear, high-definition audio and video. Tiger TV, exclusively at TFNN.com.
Has the current market volatility continued to stop you out of trades when the market spikes against you? Now is the perfect time to open up an account with Nadex. Nadex, the North American Derivatives Exchange, is a brand new, completely regulated Chicago-based exchange, and unlike most other exchanges, Nadex allows you to trade directly through them with direct market access when using their completely free trading platform, which also features real-time charts and full customization capability. One of the advantages of trading with Nadex in volatile markets is that your risk is always capped and you have the ability of keeping your trades open even when the market spikes against you. Nadex is completely brand new with a line of unique trading products that are unavailable anywhere else. See how it works at nadex.com. That's NADEX.com. Or click on the Nadex banner on the front page of TFNN.com. Futures and options trading involves risk and may not be appropriate for all investors.
Many of our new listeners have heard about the Tiger's Den, but wondered, what exactly is it? The Tiger's Den is a lively community where professional traders and investors can meet, exchange ideas and information in a comfortable, moderated atmosphere. Hear all of your favorite TFNN shows, plus see all the charts as they happen live during those shows, and have access to all those charts. You can test drive the Tiger's Den absolutely free for 30 days. It will greatly enrich your knowledge of these markets. Details on the Tiger's Den are on the front page of TFNN.com. This segment is brought to you by Think or Swim. For more information, just click the Think or Swim banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Welcome back to the show. So earlier I was talking about a piece of the action and how money really gets in the way of many things, and I think this next article that we're talking about.
Here you go again.
Major flaws in the U.S. drugs with accelerated approval and research.
The research is showing that they're just rushing drugs to the market. A new study published today has exposed major flaws in the fast tracking of these drugs available to the American public without any stringent clinical evidence of their benefits.
Yeah,
Sounds to me like they're just trying to get a piece of the action.
I think so too, and researchers from the London School of Economics and Political Science and the United States say that U.S. patents with serious illnesses are being treated by drugs which have a questionable data.
Yeah, the patient, they're just simply throwing stuff against the wall to see what sticks is what I think.
Yeah, this is called accelerated approval by the Food and Drug Administration without any strong clinical evaluation.
Yeah, they say that these drugs that are eligible for this accelerated approval are assessed as reasonably likely to provide clinical benefits.
Yeah, there are 37 new drugs giving this accelerated approval between the years 2000 and 2013.
And yet we've probably seen a huge rise in personal injury, in opiate addiction, in drugs that have caused damage and death. So I think this is a real concern. Yet we have people like the FDA spending billions of our taxpayer dollars to try and prosecute the walnut growers and people like this who have, for showing that there's research that the walnuts...
You can't say that. You can't say these things have benefits unless they're drugs. They've established that many years ago.
And when you say that, that just burns me up. You can't say that. Well, of course we can say it, but we're not allowed to by these people that have usurped us and as if they've got some kind of power to say what we say. It just drives me crazy. And we now know that their motivation is not our health, but that piece of the action that they want. So it's a real stinker thing.
Yeah, the study is the first in the world to systematically evaluate more than 7,000 clinical studies conducted on drugs receiving accelerated approval by the FDA. That many, 7,000 clinical studies, folks.
It's just like it's such a gluttonous thing when I think about it. These companies are coming out with a drug and they're all just throwing it at the FDA and probably throwing a few dollars to make sure there's...
big bucks because remember, all these committees and things are financed. You can't be on a committee unless you pay to be on a committee.
You got to pay to play.
Yeah, and of course the drug companies are big at giving donations to these people, especially if they're on a committee. That's how you know they're on a committee. You can see it. And then you can say, okay, I'm going to back you. The way these little parties work before these committees, they have a party to get the money in. So you have a party where you invite all these people and you say, I'm going to be in charge of this new committee, and what we're going to be looking at during these meetings is this and this about your drugs. And then the lobbyists are there saying, well, I'm going to donate to yours.
And they're going to say, hey, by the way, after you pass this, you can have a job on our board when you leave.
Well, not only that, but let me give you some education about our new drug and how good it is.
Yeah, same way they do with doctors.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but on the other hand, on the flip side, here's a headline. Cannabinoids are used in sequence with chemotherapy, are a more effective treatment for chemo. Now, understand that you have to sort of, instead of trying to beat them, you have to join them. The probability is that the research showed that they're more effective than chemotherapy for the treatment of cancer. But just like what they did to Stanislaw Brzezinski in Houston, is in order for him to continue, they were trying to bleed him out with fees and lawsuits. They had to say, well, we'll let you continue with your research
because you do it in conjunction.
As long as you do it in conjunction with chemo, because God forbid we don't want anything to supplant chemo.
Well,
we want to enhance it, but the truth is you should just take out that prepositional phrase, in sequence with chemotherapy.
Yeah. I wonder what the cost difference is between the cannabinoids
and the chemotherapy.
And the chemotherapy.
You know, chemotherapy is one of the only drugs that oncologists are allowed to buy and remarket like wholesale.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Whereas you usually have to write a script and the people go get it. They're allowed to buy it for $10,000 and charge you $20,000 for each of your infusions.
I think when my sister was taking chemo, the bill was much, much lower. They only had to pay like little less than $3,000 each time.
Well, he probably got it for $400.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah. So he made
thing
his
is,
little,
just $3,000 every few weeks. You know, that can drain your bank account, especially, remember, most of these people that are taking these drugs and these chemos are probably elderly on a fixed income. and
Well,
maybe insurance doesn't cover it.
It's kind
in
of
a
an
lot cases.
extraction process. It's a very
It's
sad
definitely
extraction process.
yeah.
So let's learn about this
Okay.
research. New research has confirmed that cannabinoids, the active ingredient in cannabis, are effective in killing leukemia cells, particularly when used in combination with chemotherapy. Of course, they probably couldn't get any research done to see how they did without the chemo, but
Well,
as long as they included the
D'Agostino
chemo,
is doing that, though.
he's doing the ketogenic diet.
Researchers also found that the sequential use of the initial dose of chemotherapy first and then the cannabinoids significantly improved overall results against the blood cancer cells.
And they found by combining the chemotherapy treatment with the cannabinoids had better results than chemotherapy alone. No surprise there.
Yeah,
meaning that a similar level of effect could be achieved through using a lower dose of the chemotherapy. That's always great news because these poisons that make up the chemotherapy family, anytime we can reduce the quantity. In Europe, they've been doing something called insulin potentiation process, IPP, or therapy, IPT.
Okay.
Insulin potentiation, meaning they actually stimulate the insulin receptors so that because
start working again.
cancer cells enjoy sugar stuff, so they
Right.
flood you with that so that the chemotherapy works,
Yeah, he says these extracts are highly concentrated and purified, so smoking marijuana will not have the similar effect. But cannabinoids are very exciting prospect in oncology, and studies such as ours serve to establish the best ways we can be used to maximize the therapeutic effect. So a lot of these cannabinoids, in all the research that I'm reading, in combination with chemo, in combination with radiation and other conventional treatments, say that it helps the other things too.
Well, here you go.
And there's less side effects, naturally, because you're using less of the chemo, you're using less radiation.
Right, sure. So when these are extracted, these phytocannabinoids, as they're calling them, have been shown to possess anti-cancer effects, especially beneficial for the brain, cancers of the brain. So they're looking into a number of clinical studies that are underway that are assessing the full potential of the cannabinoids in patients with cancer. Research says more trials need to be carried out, of course, to avoid ferocious claims. But I think what we see is Mother Nature has her solutions, and she doesn't benefit from a piece of the action.
Very well put.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, it's astounding to me that it's been, I think I was introduced to marijuana back in the 60s, late 60s it was for me. I'm a little late bloomer in those things. And now just the research is coming out. So how long is that? That 40, 50, 57 years since we've been using these things. And I think they have a long list of people who probably have used it for that length of time. I mean, you could probably get a hold of a lot of people who were smoking marijuana in the 60s and have continued to do that.
And yes.
And
I'd like to take a look at their brains, because what we're seeing is, remember that research we covered a couple of weeks ago about that when the endocannabinoid system from cannabinoids is encouraged to turn on, it improved the thinking and cognition of elderly people.
Yeah.
Kind of the opposite of some of our young people. For some people, kind of.
Well, that picture of the old stoner going, "Oh, dude, it's not the same picture anymore, is it?"
No, it sure isn't. It sure isn't. Well, we'll be right back after this short break.
You know what's cool? Taking something that's good for you. Something specifically formulated to help with weight loss, better sleep, stress reduction, and the need to detox.
Nico, our hunter and gatherer ancestors found all their nutritional requirements for health in their wild environment. But today, our food sources no longer contain the vitamins, minerals, and nutrients our bodies need to stay healthy and strong.
That's why we need Primal Edge Daily Nutrition. It includes a special blend of ionic, soil-based vitamins, minerals, fatty, and amino acids in an easy-to-use liquid form.
Primal Edge is powered by highly concentrated fulvic and humic acids, nature's preferred delivery system. They have been called miracle molecules because, like sunlight, air, and water, life cannot exist without them.
That's right, Paige. They ensure we receive all the nutrition we need to be healthy and thrive. We take it every morning.
Primal Edge, formulated and approved by Nico and Paige of Living a Primal Lifestyle. Buy it today for just $89. Click on the Primal Edge banner on the front page of TFNN.com.
Tom O'Brien's weekly gold letter, The Gold Report, gives complete and concise coverage of the entire gold market. Inside, you'll get Tom's commentary on gold, the dollar, the rand, the bond, the XAU, the HUI, and detailed coverage of nearly 25 mining stocks. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock trade. The Gold Report is a long-term newsletter where the focus is on building real wealth through the management of a successful portfolio of gold stocks. With a lifetime of knowledge and almost 12 years of writing his informative weekly newsletter, The Gold Report, Tom O'Brien can provide you with the important market information to help you make better trades in the gold market. Don't let the next bull run in gold pass you by. To get a month-long free trial to The Gold Report, an $85 value, visit the front page of TFNN.com today.
David White's newsletter, The Technology Insider, is focused like a laser on finding the next big things in technology. If you had invested only $10,000 in Microsoft in 1986, you'd have been a millionaire by 2000. Disruptive technology like Microsoft's is the key to these massive long-term profits, and the Tech Insider is the vehicle from TFNN to capitalize on these opportunities. This is the go-to newsletter that identifies, monitors, and profits on mostly little-known cutting-edge companies with great long-term prospects. David's experience is as an inventor of Emmy-winning animation products for TV and Hollywood that propelled a company public. Match that with 14 years as a full-time trader, and he's uniquely qualified to guide you through the light-speed world of ever-evolving high-tech. If you're ready to ride the next big technology bull market for less than $40 per month, log on to TFNN.com and get your 2-week free trial to the Technology Insider. Get in on the ground floor of the next big thing today.
This segment is brought to you by TFNN. Test drive all the newsletters for free at TFNN.com.
And could it be that latest fossil finds could rewrite our species' history? It turns out that remains from Morocco that date back to 315,000 years ago could possibly, quite frankly, push our species' origins back another 100,000 years and suggest that we did not evolve only in East Africa. Nico.
Yeah, it's pretty fascinating. The skull that they found had a actually larger brain, sort of elongated.
More elongated,
skull.
yeah. I think you can see it here.
Yeah, it's a feature of Neanderthal, but this was not a Neanderthal.
He was even previous to Neanderthal.
Actually, it was probably along the same lines as dating. Neanderthal probably had been around 500,000 years and left us maybe as early as 15,000 years ago, maybe 30,000 in some
So
instances.
this is really what they're saying. Researchers say they have found the oldest Homo sapiens remains on record
And remember,
in the most unlikely place, which is Morocco.
Neanderthal is not Homo sapien, so
Right.
this definitely is the Homo sapien, which really pushes our line back a lot further. And of course, been many stories dating back years and years, people claiming that probably we've been on the planet maybe for 1 million years. No evidence of that, however, but this does push it back.
It's pushing it back about another 100,000 years.
Yeah, and you got to
Kind of a long
remember
period of
how
time.
hard it is for something to survive this long. It has to be kind of a perfect scenario for a skull to survive because of all the things that can happen in the environment.
Absolutely.
So when they find one of these things, it's pretty remarkable. Also, carbon dating is not an exact science, but they have other ways of dating this too with DNA and things, so we'll probably get a more clearer picture of what actually is happening.
And all this was in the journal Nature, a very prestigious journal, that just this June. But this is kind of interesting, Nico. Until now, the common wisdom was that our species emerged probably rather quickly somewhere in a Garden of Eden that was likely in sub-Saharan Africa. But this is not really panning out. And there's a director at the Max Planck Institute for Evolutionary Anthropology says now, he says that the Garden of Eden in Africa is probably Africa, and it's a big, big garden.
Yeah, it's probably the whole continent. of
Right,
Africa.
and he was one of the leaders of a decade-long excavation in this Moroccan site. So in other words, it's not just this little spot. We really had a much larger area of evolutionary history.
Probably so, and they still have never confirmed that did Neanderthal actually come out of Africa. They don't know because it was a very hardy species in northern Europe, and mostly, I think the farthest south they came to was probably Spain. and no evidence of them ever in Africa. So it's a very interesting thing. We know so little about our species, and of course...
it was a decade-long dig that they did, but listen to this, Nico. They said that their initial goal was to redate the site using newer methods, but in the late 2000s, the team uncovered more than 20 new human bones relating to at least 5 individuals, including a remarkably complete jaw, skull fragments, and stone tools. And this team was led by these guys out of the Max Planck Institute, and they found things to be 280 to 350,000 years old, and this redating convinced them that the Homo sapien once lived at this particular area, and it's kind of like a crossroads now about how old we really were.
Well, it's the same thing going on with, our species in North America. With the Clovis was the ideal thing, where maybe 13,000 years ago is when we arrived, maybe from the Bering Sea, or maybe following the water shores along those lines. But back in the 60s, I remember a lady who was down in Mexico and discovered something, and the dating was 20, maybe 30, maybe 40, maybe 50,000 years, maybe 60, maybe 100,000 years on the different dating methods, and none of them were close to the 13,000 years. Of course, she was disowned by the Smithsonian and everybody else for coming up with these.
Well, anytime you come up with something that's disruptive,
it's really
all of a sudden they discredit. If you disrupt,
crazy.
They discredit you. But they were saying this finding. They had they were more similar to modern day man than Neanderthal.
Yeah.
It had larger teeth and this elongated skull. So what this really is saying, folks, is that we really probably evolved from a more diverse spread of our species history, and it points to our diverse genesis for our species and raises doubt about an exclusively East African origin.
And this is kind of superimposed. The blue is the larger version of what the skull would look like, and the lower version would be this inside part. So you can see how much larger this is.
Yeah,
and also
it might be hard for them to see.
The voice box, it might be a little hard to see. But the voice box apparently is different too. It's an interesting thing. The redating of new human bones convinced these researchers that early Homo sapiens once lived at Jabal. It's a face that you could cross the street and see this face, he said, and you would think that it would be a normal human being.
Right.
It wouldn't be a Neanderthal.
Right,
coming
as he
across
says, the teeth are a little bit bigger compared with those of today's humans, but in general, he sees more of a similarity in the history. But I thought that's just fascinating because, again, much of what we've been told is being proven to be something we were sold.
Yes.
We're finding new research, so we're kind of at the forefront of this, and we'll have to keep up to date on how this goes, and knowing that our species has been around more on a broader area and for much longer.
This offers clues about the evolution of the Homo sapiens lineage in today's atomically modern humans. What we think is before 300,000 years was a dispersal of our species, or at least the most primitive version of our species throughout Africa. Around this time, the Sahara was green, filled with lakes and rivers. Animals that roamed in East Africa savanna, including gazelles, wildebeest, lions, also lived near here, suggesting that these environments were once linked. So there's quite a bit of evidence that, of course, we could live in these areas because it was easy to live there, because all the other animals, it was green. Sahara may be going back to that. Who knows?
Well, a lot of the, and maybe we can hit on some of our weather updates here and what's going on with the sun, because we always like to keep you abreast of what's really happening.
This is the area that they found it.
But I think that's interesting that many of the areas that today are desert were once lush jungles. And maybe some of the areas that are jungles were at one point either under ice or desert. So, when the earth changes, so do a lot of other things.
Yeah, so the guy who brought this was Chris Stinger, a natural history of
paleoanthropologist.
Yeah. And he co-authored a News and View article accompanying this study. He says he was baffled by the remains when he first saw them back in the 1970s. They were kind of put aside for a while. He knew they weren't Neanderthals, but they seemed too young and primitive to be Homo sapiens. So they.
But now that they've got advanced dating capability, they're able to find out that, in fact, they go back farther now moving the dating of the Homo sapiens species back another 100,000 years.
Yeah, he says, I cannot say we closed the chapter, but we came to such an amazing conclusion after this very long journey. It blows my mind, he says.
Mm-hmm.
So
Very
it
cool
shows you
stuff.
that science, even though science is often wrong, really the experiments of science is actually to disprove things.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they're after now is trying to disprove that this is a actual human being. We're finding out that they can't do that because of the skull, because of the way the eyes were much larger than eyes today, more like a chimpanzee's eyes are very large compared to the rest of their body. But the features of the jaw and the features of the brain casing are all modern humans. Very interesting.
Very cool stuff. Okay, we've got to take a short break.
Yeah, and please pick up my Health Signals newsletter. I got a new one I'm working on right now. My big adventure with Marco Bell is on there. Bigfoot adventure, I should say. So take
Your
a
big
look at
Bigfoot adventure.
that. Exactly. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Steve Rhodes, host of the Trader's Edge, heard daily at TFNN.com and author of Mastering Probability, a daily investment and trading newsletter service that I send out each morning by 8 a.m. My morning newsletter service covers exactly what the markets have been doing since last night's close, providing you with an edge on your trading day ahead. You get actionable trading ideas, including the exact entry, stop, and profit targets. Plus, I'll teach you the patterns and hidden market correlations that will make you a better trader. As a subscriber, you'll gain access to my 90-minute money management workshop, where I'll teach you the secrets that'll save your assets. The bottom line, I've got your back, including a 30-day money-back guarantee. See for yourself the type of analysis I provide each trading day by signing up for Mastering Probability today. With nothing to lose, this is an offer you should not pass on. Mastering Probability can be found under Trading Newsletters on the front page of TFNN.com.
If you're an active trader looking for that extra edge when it comes to trading and investments, then now is a great time to get a 2-week free trial to Tom O'Brien's daily market letter, Market Insights. Tom O'Brien's daily newsletter, Market Insights, comes out every market day at around 9:30 a.m. and provides Tom's daily commentary on the broad market, including the Dow, NASDAQ, and S&P, plus specific trade recommendations. There's even an update published most afternoons to keep you informed about the day's market activity. He'll give you the entry price, price target, and stop price of each stock and option trade. With Market Insights, there's nothing left to guessing. For all the details and to get your 2-week free trial to Market Insights started today, visit TFNN.com.
No matter where you're listening to TFNN programming, you can always access your favorite shows on demand through TFNN.com. TFNN airs live programming every market day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. Eastern, and you can view each program by accessing Tiger TV through our homepage. We even have an easy link for all mobile devices, including iPhones, iPads, and Android devices, located in the top right-hand corner of the TFNN homepage. You can use your smartphone to view Tiger TV, but if you don't have a connection that can keep up with streaming live video, then you can simply visit TFNN.mobi in the browser of your smartphone for live streaming audio of all our programs. The mission of TFNN is to educate our audience directly and interactively through our interactive website and call-in talk shows. TFNN is able to teach all levels of investors the technical skills needed to trade in today's marketplace. In order to get the best information possible, TFNN has assembled the most respected financial minds in the country to provide the most current news and comprehensive advice available. TFNN.com. Educating investors. Up next, 9 before 9 with John Logan on TFNN.
Welcome back to the show, folks. I just got a snow report here from Lake Tahoe, and of course, we're getting all kinds of pictures and stuff. I'm not sure this will come up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, basically, Lake Tahoe got pounded with snow this week. Very unusual for this time of year.
There it is, snowing right there.
Mm-hmm. So
Yeah, very seldom. I skied once in June, really early June, at the top of the mountain, off of Lake Tahoe there, at Quail, whatever the name of that place is, I forget. But it's interesting because, of course, when you have snow all summer long and it doesn't melt, that's the start of glaciation. And we always have been told over the last couple of decades that glaciation is being minimized, and we're all going to burn in hell because it's getting so warm.
Right, but that's really not what's panning out. And if you're following ADAPT 2030 and some of those researchers there, you'll see that, in fact, it appears that the weather, we are cooling in areas like Tahoe in the summer and Saudi Arabia desert are getting snow and cold weather. And this is consistent with the research that tells us that as the sun's activity decreases, the cold increases. So the less active the sun, the more likely we're going to have weather disturbances and increasing cold, or mini ice ages, we might say. So we've seen that the solar update for June of 2017 indicates that the sun is slumping and heading even lower.
And here's a chart right here. The red is our current solar cycle, and superimposed are the previous.
Solar cycle 24.
24 is what we're in. We're just about the end of it, entering 25 within the next year or so. It's kind of, but you can see how low we're getting with the activity of the sun. And what this means is that we'll get an influx of cosmic rays. Here is another one, and this is the cosmic rays are going up as the sun gives us less protection. So what happens again is that the sun...
We're more at risk.
Yeah, the sun feeds us with the solar wind and all these things, and that helps get our atmosphere really nice and dense, really protective.
But our magnetosphere had been protecting us from these solar winds and activity, whereas we have lost, our magnetosphere has weakened as a result.
It's not so much, the magnetosphere is the other issue too, because we're going into what we call a pole flip, which our sun does every 11 years, and that's why the solar cycle is 11 years. We don't know how long the Earth cycle is, but it looks very much similar to the way the sun acts when it does that. And that, you would think that the poles would just go like this and then they get to a certain point where they flip. Actually, what's happening, both poles are coming towards each other.
At the equator.
And that's what the sun does with this. And when they come close together, all of a sudden there's a big flip and the sun flips.
And the Earth flips.
And then the Earth flips too, and we don't know what happens during that. But we're actually talking about the protection that the sun gives us. So we have a nice big atmosphere when the sun throws us a lot of little things. And as that hasn't been happening, now the atmosphere is getting thinner. You'll notice that the clouds are a lot closer to Earth. If you look up at them. And so we're getting less and less protection, and that's bad because once in a while the sun will throw out something that's harmful to us.
So let's tie this to how we
But
open
also,
this.
we get lots of debris from space that comes from different galaxies, and that gives us also protection. And there's also a protection from the sun that has this whole halo that covers all the planets. And all these three things are happening at the same time. So we're having our atmosphere being less effective. We're having the sun's halo being less effective, shielding the whole solar system, and we're also in the middle of this pole switch.
That's exactly right, and you need to follow Ben
on.
Davidson on that. And just to kind of recap, as we opened up the show this morning, Nico said getting a piece of the action. So here we've got today, despite the contrary evidence that we're actually entering a cooling stage, we've got universities asking us to pitch in billions to help refreeze the polar caps.
Yeah.
So that's getting a piece of the action. They know naturally they're going to refreeze because we're going colder, but they'll take your tax dollars to try and say we did it. So be careful who's trying to get a piece of the action.
See you next time, folks. Thanks a lot.
Since 1984, Basil Chapman has been using the Chapman Wave methodology to advise traders of his expert market opinion. While originally hand-drawing charts from the late 1970s into the 1980s, Basil noticed that prices under most circumstances virtually always had a certain number of legs to the upside before declining sharply. Later, Basil found that computer software, which included the standard market technical indicators, enhanced the degree of accuracy in calling price turns as well as market trend calls. Thus was born the Chapman Wave sequence. Using the Chapman Wave methodology along with other indicators, Basil Chapman advises his subscribers of his expert market opinion each market day with his Opening Call newsletter. Right now, you can get a 2-week free trial to the Opening Call, Basil's daily trading newsletter, by visiting the front page of TFNN.com. Cancel at any time during that trial and pay absolutely nothing. Get your 2-week free trial to Basil's newsletter, The Opening Call, today by visiting TFNN.com.
You're watching Tiger TV.